Hi Chris, hi Eleanor. I thought I'd just show you where I'm at on a quick video just to kind of run through this sort of first concepts for you. So I've taken all the measurements, and as you can see, when you actually sort of draw it out to scale, the garden actually comes in quite dramatically and narrows towards the back, which you wouldn't think when you first look at it. Actually, here's the overhead shot. So you know, originally I'd sort of drawn it out square and thought that it was quite straight, but actually with the dimensions it does kind of taper in quite substantially. So because of that, I've gone straight to do concepts on the computer to scale. So it's still just rough concepts. I mean, I started sketching out, but I've kind of done three options here for you. But I wanted to, yeah, sort of just get it straight away to the scale, because I think if we start designing something and then it doesn't quite work with those proportions, then we're kind of losing right from the start. So I know as well, I'm very conscious of the budget, that you know, you don't want to do a massive overhaul, that really it's a kind of makeover. And you talked about keeping the existing paving. So I've done a couple there keeping the existing paving, so sort of looking back here, so I know you've sort of cleaned it up, and it's, you know, you're quite sort of okay with it. It would look really so much better if we could replace and sort of do the whole garden with something like a lovely sandstone. So I've just come up with a couple of options for you anyway, just, you know, bearing in mind that sort of top wax spend of, you know, up to sort of 5k really. So I do understand that you don't want to go mad with it and replace everything, but it's worth just looking at some options. And I'm going to send this on to Dave Stack, my landscaper at Absolute Landscapes. He's the guy that did Julie's around the corner. I've worked with him for a couple of years now. And I think at this point it would be good to get his input and advice at an early sort of stage as well, just to see that, you know, what's achievable for the budget, and if we can sort of do some replacing of this paving, then perhaps we shouldn't rule that out as well. So okay, so let me just show you the three concepts I've come up with for you, and they're sort of three different layout designs. Just shift this along. Yeah, it's all about getting the ground pattern right at this stage, really. So you can see it's all about sort of a bit of sort of symmetry on the page. On the, you know, once you lay it out on the paper, you can see the shapes more easily. And it's about getting the right kind of proportions for the garden, so that the borders aren't too skinny, it's not all pushed to the edge. I know you want, so this was the sort of wish list, you want enough lawn space still, somewhere that's suitable for the dog, for Jasmine to run around. You were talking about possibly keeping paving, but then a place to sort of sit and relax around your fire pit, and possibly a water feature. You like that sort of country look. Obviously, you've got those beautiful views. We don't want to close off those views, but we want to enhance them. And somewhere, perhaps other seating areas to kind of sit with family and stuff. So you can sort of see I've got 1, 2, 3. So if you look at the first one, this one is keeping. This is a plan keeping all the sort of existing paving. I've kind of chunked into it a little bit. I've taken a little bit of a sweeping curve into it, but basically keeping that buff paving that you've got, and sort of linking the area from the top patio to the deck at the back. And what I wanted to do, I think with all of them, curves work the best, especially with this kind of funny angle coming in of this fence line. I sort of work with straight lines, and I just sort of threw them out really. So this is a kind of figure of 8 sort of shape, I suppose. So you've still got two big circular kind of lawn shapes, and it just gives you a bit of a journey around the garden. So I've suggested using like a brick or a set or something. We could use, we talked about possibly using a brick in perhaps basket weave kind of pattern or something, that kind of cottagey feel. And this is a path going sort of round here to a little enclosed kind of seating area, so you can have your fire pit here. And I thought this would be lovely. It's like a little zone, really, like a little pod, with low hedging going around, so it really does kind of feel sort of secluded, and it gives you that nice kind of feeling of like, it's like a cosy feeling in there around the fire pit. And I think for this one, so the main build costs are obviously this kind of path going through. If we save the money by keeping the existing paving, I think there'll be room in the budget to sort of create a built-in kind of bench seat area. So this is something like a kind of raised, rendered sort of bench, just something that you can put cushions on and things and sit around the fireplace. So I'm just going to spin this around. I haven't done it all as a proper 3D model, but I just want to show you how this would look roughly. It's very, very rough at this stage, but you would sort of come into this little area, and then we could create some kind of nice bench seating to put cushions on, and then the path opens up, and then you've got this lovely sort of viewpoint through and out to the open countryside. And then we would just keep everything else the same, basically. It's very simple. We'd keep that little bench area that you've got already there. Might have to move the ceanothus or just cut it back a little bit, but everything else we add to, and we put in nice borders and planting, and just sort of add to what you've got there, really. Let me move that back over. So yeah, we have bigger planting areas, planting all around the back of the bench, and a sweeping curve of planting coming right up to the existing paving and sort of cutting across, so that you've got plants as you look out from the kitchen family room. We'll keep that tree in position. This tree is coming out anyway, and we just create a lovely sort of planting border at the base of that tree. And we can put in some more trees if you like this design as well. So that's the first one. So number 1 is figure of 8 design. Moving over to the second one, this concept is something I sort of came up with if we were to sort of replace and smarten up all the paving with like a lovely sandstone. Sandstone is really affordable now, and we can get some lovely tones in. We can get like the pinky grey tones, and it would sort of match in with the roof of the garage and the brickwork of the house. So I think it would just sort of pull the garden together really nicely. And if we do replace the paving, I would take it out slightly further on this one than it is already, and straighten it off over here. So at the moment we've got like a little dip. I know at the moment there's like a little tree here, a little salix here, but I think that can be lifted and replanted and moved. And what that means is that would give you a bigger paved area right outside your kitchen for this little fire pit area. So if you want the fire and that sort of sociable area closer to the house, this option, by extending this patio here, gives you more room. So we can lay on the existing base, and I don't think, I need to check with Dave, but I don't think this would go over budget. It seems, I know it might seem like a lot of work, but honestly they do this all the time, and it's very quick, and it would make such an impact. But with this design, this is all about one big sweeping curve of lawn, sort of drawing the eye out to the view. So the shape that I've gone for is one big curve. So we cut into the existing lawn shape, and we create this beautiful big curved border on the right hand side with more planting added to the existing. And then to sort of accentuate that, I wanted to use the same sandstone and do this lovely curve around here, following the design in kind of stepping stones through the lawn, and I think that would be absolutely lovely. On this one, I've sort of chosen to change the bench area slightly. So instead of having this quite small angular bench line that you've got, we just change that up slightly and put a curve on it with sleepers. We can have cut sleepers on end and create a curve, and that would give us room for your water feature, actually in the pebbles with planting around it right near this bench. So you can sit on this bench that you've already got, and have the water sort of trickling there. So to access that, I've created a little curve of the sandstone here around the garage, and then a sweep of planting. And then another idea is to have some meadow grass and planting. This sort of secondary colour of green here is wildflower meadow, and I thought a lovely big sweeping crescent round to the water feature just accentuates that kind of line. So so that's the second one. It's kind of sweeping curves. Let me spin this round a little bit for you so you can see. I think it would create a nice view line when you're sort of in the kitchen area. It just kind of draws the eye out to the view. Just sweeps right round, then you've got that beautiful view. And then in front of your bench here, you can have a really pretty bubbling water jet, and that just disappears into a sump underneath, and it's all contained. And you'd have wildflower meadow coming all the way around here, back to your deck. So that's number 2, second design. And then last but not least, so that's a kind of option if we were to replace the existing paving. And then I thought I'd come up with a third option for you with slightly different shapes. And this one is a kind of combination of keeping some existing paving but somehow kind of adding to it, and this is where we'll need Dave's advice to just see how we would do this. I think I mentioned to you that you would need like a proper base on here, and this existing paving I think perhaps hasn't been laid on as solid a base as we would lay on, so it's just how this would marry up. It might be that this steps sort of slightly, that there's a slight change in levels here, but to keep this little area, this is like an extension to the existing patio if you like. We can do this in the sandstone, and then we could use a little set edge and have a defined oval shaped lawn, and everything else just kind of stays the same. We sort of cut into it a little bit and add to it, and to keep this kind of feeling of seclusion, just right outside the patio doors here, I've got a low hedge line going round the outside of the fire pit area there. So that's that one. With this one, I thought we could have a line going across in front of the deck and continue the kind of pebble area. So where you've got your bench, which is contained, I've kind of got this grand entrance. This is almost kind of more symmetrical and a bit sort of grander, a sort of entrance way up to the deck of like a lovely sandstone, and then a view line coming across from the bench to a water feature area over this side. So let's take you for a little spin around here so you can see how this one works. Oh, where's it gone? There we go. Whoops. Bear with me. Right, okay. So this one, so it's very rough, needs a lot of work. But yeah, we'd have this kind of hedge line going round. I'll just show you that. That would be up sort of like there. A little low hedge going around, or you could have it higher and feel secluded there. A real oval shaped lawn, and then from the bench, keep the bench area as it is and kind of add to that view going across there. So we could have intermittent kind of planting throughout a gravel area, sort of gravel planting, quite cottagey, sandstone going through, and a water feature, a little bubble jet water feature at the end. So then the water feature is kind of close to the deck, it's all kind of softened by the planting. And then I think this kind of entranceway here kind of draws the eye out again to the view, so that you've got that view behind, to the fields behind. So yeah, so that's all 3, 1, 2 and 3. Let me know your thoughts. I'll ask Dave for his kind of advice as well, and then we can take one of these. You know, this is just first concepts, first ideas, kind of shapes. It's really just looking at the shapes. Almost forget about the actual sort of individual features, because they can be added to any design, but it's more about which of the 3 layout patterns, ground patterns, that you're most drawn to. and then we can work on that and develop further and go to the next stage. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are, and we'll catch up soon. Thanks guys, bye.